if people are comfortable with the schedule of significant trees, then we can just pass and they're just minor technical amendments on here, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, that first resolution was in relation to the chapter. So the other resolutions are fairly sort of minor. I'm happy to talk them through. We could run through them pretty briefly if that helped, to give you an overview.
Well, I'd rather clear the decks of something if we could.
Okay, so do you want me to start at point 2?
Yep.
Okay, so you've received the amended Chapter 9 schedules as shown in the document tabled. It's got a title on it, Appendices with Changes Shown. So in respect of that, that simply is some minor changes, for instance, around map numbers, some clarification points, very minor points. There is a tree which has been removed off the list, shown as a track change in the appendix for schedule of significant trees. That's a clarification point from our city arborist. That tree hasn't met the threshold for significance. It shouldn't actually be on the list, and it was clarified to you at a previous meeting. And there's an update in one of the appendices to do with the exemptions for heritage buildings appendix. That's at the very end of that set of documentation you would have received. Appendix 9.13. It's simply some track changes to show clarification of clauses relative to updates to phase 2 clause numbering. So we've tabled that for your purposes to see where the changes are there. And then the other document in that package received is this map here, which is two maps, one for the city and one for Banks Peninsula, showing where the proposed sites of ecological significance are. So that's in that package of information. So that covers off resolutions 2, 3 and 4. So that aside from the first one that we were just talking about, the other resolutions are the next 3 on the page up there.
Yep. Do you want to go on through the rest of them?
Yeah. So, for the first resolution, amend Chapter 9 as shown in the document tabled entitled Chapter 9, the one that we just talked about to do with those changes, for instance, to controlled activity status. I'm just not clear. Is that one that you're leaving till Friday, or are we going through that now?
It seems to me to be fine in terms of notifying the changes. Agreeing to these particular changes. The only concern that people have is around the appendix, which doesn't show us what buildings we're shifting from what category to another. So that's, to me, we could really resolve to agree to all of these amendments other than
with the exception
the schedule.
Of any on buildings, heritage buildings, heritage structures.
Is that generally acceptable to everyone? Yeah. So which resolution? It's probably the appendix 9.13 as shown in the document around heritage item and heritage setting exemptions. No, it's not that one.
No.
So what would? Why don't we move and block all of the amendments with an exception to, saying that we will address the schedule of significant historic heritage places on Friday.
That's fine.
Yeah. So, except for Appendix 9.4, is that the easiest way of doing it?
And do you have another appendix for the central city ones?
Well, the central city's not being dealt with on this resolution, is it?
All right. No.
Yeah.
So those other resolutions, just want to check that you've got the other ones there. So there should be one as well to insert a document titled Bibliography and Linkages between Provisions.
Yep.
One in relation to a planning map, one in relation to example heritage statements of significance, some minor changes there.
Yep.
And there should also be one at the end relative to some minor changes to just clarify those provisions which have immediate legal effect. that's come through from some legal advice we received yesterday, so it's some clarification points there. It's more of a process matter.
Yeah, well, they're not being publicly notified at this stage, so.
No.
Yep, no, well, I'm happy to move the block of amendments with the exception of Appendix 9.4. Is anyone happy to second that as a motion? Phil? Is there any discussion on that? So I'll put that motion. All those in favour say aye. Those opposed say no. That's carried. All right?
Thank you.
Thanks.